I have a question.
Yeah, of
Sorry.
course.
What's with the memes?
This is a team building. We build different memes and.
I'm so sorry, you were talking and I could just see it out the corner of my eye.
You haven't seen nothing.
Thank you, Ubisoft, for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the box down below to pre-order Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And now, well, the cat's out of the bag. I was flown out to not only play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown in Montpellier, France, before the game was announced at Summer Games Fest, but I also got the awesome opportunity to meet the entire Ubisoft Montpellier creative team, including getting to sit down and interview the game director, the narrative director, and the world director.
They're easy questions. Shouldn't be anything too hard, but... Actually, these are pretty hard questions now that I think about it.
Now, of course, please understand that this game is still very much in development, currently not slated for release until January 18th of 2024, so everything you're seeing and hearing is subject to change. But for 12 hours, Ubisoft Montpellier offered up so much information and unrestricted access that this video is going to be a little different than I originally had planned. You'll certainly see me throughout, but in a lot of ways, both during my interviews and talking with the creative leads, there was a really impressive interplay that came about. So I hope you enjoy everything that the team had to share about the game.
During the presentation we saw this morning, a lot was said about the legacy of Prince of Persia and applying modern game design to the core principles of the franchise. How have you and the team worked to build out and honor the original legacy of Prince of Persia?
You have first to do your duty, playing all the games, and we try to capture this and to capture the things that are really specific to the other episodes, but to twist them, to modernize them, to create and surprise our players. This time, the time powers are back, but they won't be in your hands. Those kind of things are super interesting because you respect the legacy, but you can, also as a developer, as a game designer, have super cool challenges because you are forced to find the answers.
When we start to create the world, it's very important to have a lot of contrast between the areas, but it's also very important to think about how the world worked before the curse, how people live into this world, to create believable connection between the different areas. So, for example, you played this morning the Sacred Archives. So here it's about madness, it's a maze. We want the player to get lost here.
But also we want to let him memorize his path. So this is achieved with landmarks and point of interest.
We have a lot of optional challenges like this one. It's very important to have things that fit together in terms of level design, game design, and narration. So we need to find in each part something unique, and everything must converge in the same direction.
Everything starts with simple things. Like this time, we won't play the prince. The prince is back, but we won't play him.
As a narrative director, I haven't worked on my own. This is the story. Never, not at all. It doesn't work. We all know this.
Good storytelling starts from one thing, a good script. Which means a lot of ideation from a lot of the core team. We sit down together and we really ask ourselves, what story do we want to tell? So we really write and find the tone, the intention that we want to tell in this story.
Taking into account the game design constraint, the world design constraint, the animation constraint, and we try to mix all those constraints and twisting them into creative constraints, because that's the main challenge.
When we started the game, we knew we were going to have to develop tools because we are a small team, and as you know, in that kind of game, you need to be very reactive because it's a level design-driven game.
Thanks to developers, I have a lot of tools to iterate faster. So our daily job is to put situations with enemies, meet them with time powers, and test again, and try our levels every day. So we have a lot of tools to iterate fast.
When you integrate something, create something new, you have like a placeholder which defines the direction of the sound, and sometimes animation evolves, a fixed color, just a color of a VFX can change the sound, can change the way we want to polish the sound. So we go back and polish, and sometimes you can feel like you create a power, a sound effect for a power, for instance, the air dash. Perhaps you already played the game, right? So you use the dash a lot.
It looks like he's doing the wall run.
Yes, that was our goal, to let the player feel the old the old game.
So, for instance, the air dash is a nightmare for us. You know what? Because when we design it, you say, okay, it's cool. We just edited it, we hear it. The sound is cool as its own. But later than we look at the playtest, we watch a lot of playtests because we as developers play in a way players don't. When I see someone dashing, mashing the air dash, I'm like, okay, it's annoying. So I had to go back, and technically the air dash, perhaps there is 20 iteration.
So we draw, redraw. Once again, a process of discussion, questioning, and iteration.
Sometimes constraints are creative. You have to build something great, taking into account all the different jobs.
And nothing without a team. So with all the artists, we align together to create the cinematic vision and deliver a powerful experience to the player.
We work closely with the team at the graphics animation, the sound design team, the programmer team as well, to bring the most beautiful experience for the gamers.
So you've worked on Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, Zombie U, and Rabbids Go Home.
Yes.
These are all very different titles from one another. What lessons have you personally learned from those past titles that you've tried to carry on into working on The Lost Crown?
You know, on each of those games, I've always been super picky with character controls. When you have to deal with combat, shoot, melee for Zombie U, or platforming for Rayman, you learn always something super important, because for me, gameplay is music.
So we have two composers on the project. The first composer is called Mentrix, who is an Iranian composer. She is responsible of all the atmosphere of the game, with variations. For instance, the music still evolving, still synchronized, but just changing over time and over the context of the situation. Let's move to...
What makes it situational that makes the music progress or regress?
It's depending just on the location. We decide by hand to associate the music on the location, and automatically when we transition, when we load from a location, the music knows exactly where it is. We have multiple layers, and just it's not us, it's the top. We have a second composer. You already know, if I told him name, is Gareth Cocker, who has already worked with us on Phoenix Rising, or in the Blind Forest, of course, and more recently, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So he joined us to help us working on everything related to boss fights.
We wanted to flavor the experience with a lot of epic cinematics. Why? Because we think this is something that is going to set us apart from most conventional platformer right now. Obviously, you saw we drew inspiration from Japanese anime, from Japanese literature, but we gave it a Ubisoft touch, so we have our own unique identity for the game.
So as you see, I love manga, Sangoku, Dragon Ball, and this is great inspiration for us.
Yes, we are super geeks.
The game may look cartoonish, but we don't want to feel you like you're playing a cartoon game. So we have to iterate over the animations, over the stature of the player, effects, etc., to make you feel like it's more visceral, more mature.
Animation is super important in Prince of Persia, and when we talk about modernity, when we talked about respecting the animation but make it modernize it, it was first super tricky to not compromise the choreography aspect of Prince of Persia.
Most of the time we're going to have cinematics just to drive the story forward, give some depth to the universe, the characters. Sometimes they're kind of a little reward, you know, like I killed the boss, I want to see a good finish. And sometimes we're just closing some parts of the narrative to say goodbye to maybe some characters, some environments.
To do this, we we had the chance to have in our team some people understanding the sense of economy and the sense of impact in anime.
So we put the images all together and now we start knowing a bit more about the rhythm. Something particular for this game is that most of it is made in keyframe animation. But at some moment we wanted to give some weight. So we used some mocap to actually place some of the action, to have some of the motion of the characters. You can see that this is one of the scenes that you actually saw this morning, and this is what we would call a solve-edit, where we assemble all the data together and then the artist can choose from it to actually create the animations.
So you have all the control of the character. We can pick the arm, the whole spine, the whole character.
So in sound design, we had to check out and say, okay, how do we do anime sound? No, not exactly. Not exactly. But we listened to how it's done in traditional Japanese animation sounds, and we used some influences, not entirely in front of it because it's not the main influence, but we wanted to have some echoes, some homage. So if you use a charge, the image is flowing, and abilities as well. Now we see that he's very angry.
I'm from the school of Capcom, I'm from the school of Street Fighter, etc., etc. Those kind of things, for me, again, it's musicality. And I'm super fond of DBZ, Naruto, and we scattered them everywhere in the game as cameos. If you are fond of animes, if you are fond also of fighting games, if you are fond of martial arts, you should find super specific things and cameos everywhere in the game.
It's funny, when I started playing this morning, I saw the meter in the corner, and immediately I went, oh, this is Marvel vs. Capcom, this is Street Fighter, this is, yes. I saw that super meter, and the minute you press it, it has the zoom in close up, Sargon's eyes are exactly. Blue lightning everywhere, wind, like definitely you can feel that vibe in the gameplay for sure.
Yes, and it was super cool to make it, because if you go deep into the mechanics, we build everything as a fighting game. Our character programmer that is responsible for character controls make sure to sometimes to try, by branching another control, to try two Sargons beating each other so that we can have an understanding of frame advantages. Each enemy has 3-4 attacks. Each enemy has this sense of, duality in combat. This is kind of different of other Metroidvania. They can dodge, they can attack in parry. It was super important to have this diversity and to have this feel of, real martial arts, because we are, again, super geeks of combat in every aspect.
We are very proud of the work we did, I think, on the mix between an action platformer with a strong storyline with a Metroidvania structure. It was tricky to keep players that are motivated by the story and also players that are motivated by the exploration.
We know our strengths. We know that we are experts in a specific field, platforming. And because we want to tell a specific story, a story of, Sargon and his buddies lost in a hostile world, as if it was a war movie, we tried after that to figure out what kind of world structure could fit to this story. Because the tricky thing with Metroidvania is to think to the what before the why. What we wanted as developers is one thing. We could trash everything from the legacy, but first it was super important to make a Prince of Persia before Metroidvania.
We found very good way to interest both kind of players. For example, by having a lot of NPCs that give you that tell things about the areas, or you can find specific items that talk about the area too and give you more information on the main story.
Did you and the team get together and play any Metroidvanias before?
Yes,
or
of course, Ori, Hollow Knight, but it was super important to not copy everything, because when what we love and what we want to achieve can be different. Some players don't like to be lost, so we had to be really careful to understand everything and to find the right way to achieve what we wanted without compromising the player's agency. Because when you go, you arrive with this, authored story, you have to be super careful to respect, again, players' cleverness and skills.
My day at Ubisoft Montpellier was an absolute blast, and I learned a ton about Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown and the team's workflow. But there was one thing that kept popping up throughout the day that was best crystallized in this answer.
And the idea was to show that people, very different people coming from different culture, can work together and build a very, very strong and efficient team.
Now, he was in fact talking about the Immortals, the super-powered heroes that joined Sargon in his quest to rescue the prince. But he could have easily been describing the team at Ubisoft Montpellier. This was something we ran into time and time again in speaking with people. The mention of teamwork and how involved and aware of everyone in each group is. They are all driven by a very clear passion, further cemented by their director.
Here in Montpellier, we think more with our heart sometimes than our brain. And we are very emotional with things. And first, I think we achieved what we wanted to do. This is super difficult to do because sometimes you have at the beginning an idea and it can turn into something else. But if we look at the game, everything, every pillars, every details that we wanted to put in there are there. Now we have to finish it and we have to be sure that players love it, but we are super eager for you to play it and tell us if this new chapter is worthy to continue.
Once again, thank you to Ubisoft Montpellier for the opportunity to play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and for granting me and my team so much access to see everything. Links to pre-order the game are in the box down below, and I'll be back soon with another brand new video. Bye!
I didn't know what to expect, and when you guys showed us that first trailer and everything,
Yes.
blown away.
Is it a mobile game? Is it a companion app? Is it? Yes, we know all that. We are aware, but honestly, we put all our love.
I think it's going to be great. I think people are going to love it. I can't wait to play the full game. I'm pumped on this. This is awesome.